We are so excited to have Carmyn with us tonight. She is a really special guest for me personally. She's a tricks of all trades. She wears a million different hats. She's a mom of four, right? You have four.
Yes.
A
Yes.
mom of four, a coach, a trainer, a giver of everything that you need. She's ready to serve at any moment. Currently, she's the head coach at Slam Tampa here in Florida, and she's my teammate and trainer at the Positive Coaching Alliance. We both are trainers for the Positive Coaching Alliance here in Tampa. And she's also the director of training and program development at Ultimate Warriors Basketball Academy. So Carmyn, thanks so much for being a part of our webinar series, Sinking Threes from the Bench, Pivoting Setbacks into Opportunities. You've been doing so much of this with your teams. I've been following you on social media and just watching the amount of work that you're putting in and being there for your teammates is really, really exciting and thrilling for me. So we cannot wait to hear about all the things that you have to share with what you're doing with your teams and how you can help us better ourselves at home and better ourselves as teammates and as players. So
Awesome.
All you, Carmyn.
All right. Well, first I want to say thank you so much to Missy, Colleen, Beyond the Game Academy, for giving me a platform to deliver my gifts to the world, I guess. I do talk with my hands a lot, so you will see them in the screens often. Missy, thank you so much for having me. If I am talking too fast, let me know. Missy, just kind of wave a hand or maybe poke me in the chat to remind me. This has been great. I've been on some of the webinars Gianna was on and the workouts that she gave, which is neat because she's actually a hometown person of ours playing at the University of Tampa. So we shared her workouts with our players. We actually went through her workouts. And then Amber gave a great smoothie that I've tried. I'm a big smoothie person. So I just appreciate this platform, not only for me to share, but also for me to learn and grow as a coach. And that's really what it's all about. So what I hope to happen today is just to kind of offer you some tools for your toolbox. You guys are probably already amazing in your own capacity. So I just want to help add to that, just as I would do as if I were going to any other webinar session. So we're going to start out with a question. You can think about this for yourself. You can use this. You can type this in the chat. And Missy, if you feel up to sharing this, you can as well. I would like to know what your favorite, if you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be and why? And I'm going to give you mine. I would love to fly. We live in Tampa, Florida, and the traffic in Tampa is stressful. Let's just say that, since I'm being recorded right now, and that will be the word that I choose. I will say, since COVID-19, the traffic has been great. Maybe more people would choose to work from home should it work for their circumstances, and then traffic will be lovely. I also am very afraid to fly. I do it because I want to travel, but I'm very afraid to fly, and really I would like to be in control of my own flying. So flying would be mine. Missy, do you have yours that you want to share?
Yeah, and let's hit up right now the chat though. What is your superpower? If you could have one superpower, what is that? So for me, Carmyn, it would be, and people might not consider this a superpower, but I do, because a lot of us don't know how to use it, and it's our voice. That's my superpower. I have discovered my voice in the last few years.
Awesome.
Going through a lot of the situations that I've been through, with my illness and things, and your voice is very powerful. You either can affect people or infect people.
That's true.
And I choose to affect people and try to impact them and be brave in my own world, so other people can be inspired and be brave using their voice as well. So that has been my superpower.
That's awesome. And I appreciate you sharing that. So I just learned something about my teammate, and even though she shared this with me a few minutes ago, but I just learned something about my teammate. And you may be asking, why in the world would I start off a webinar like that? The reason being is because part of the reason why I'm here is there's a key word in why I'm here, and Missy asked me to be here, and that is to connect. We literally open up every single practice with some form of team builder, reflection, mindful moment, quiz. And it takes, 2-3 minutes of your time. And you wouldn't believe, if you think about all the practices that you either attend or have throughout a season, how much you could get to know about each other. You may have a teammate that takes more of a goofy approach. Some take a serious approach. Some take a really unique approach, and all are welcome and all are accepted. So Missy, thanks so much for sharing that. And I see we have some unique ones in the chat as well.
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, like being a genie, travel through time.
Yep. So, and that's the whole reason why we do that. We get to learn about each other. So to really go off into why I'm here today, and that is connection, both from a physical aspect with the sport and really the team building aspect. So when we first got into this situation of COVID-19 and how it's really impacted our world and things closing and opening and being canceled and suspended and et cetera, here in Tampa, it happened right around spring break time. So it was a time where things were going to kind of slow down a little bit, with the exception of maybe tournaments and practices, which we were still intending to keep. So with that being said, that week, the student athletes had a time to rest. Well, us as coaches went into high gear and we're like, wait a minute, if everything's getting canceled, we committed literally that same week. We didn't know what we were going to do, but we knew that we wanted to be a place of normalcy and a place of stability for our student athletes. So it's something that we chose. We just kind of we had a coaches meeting. We got together, we brainstormed all of our ideas and how to still be that stability with our players. And the very first thing we did when we got on a Zoom call, Zoom stock was okay before COVID-19 and it skyrocketed once all of this happened. And they've made adjustments along the way as well. But the very first question we asked all of our players on all of our teams is, how have you spent your time more uniquely now than you had before this break? That was a critical question because that launched us into exactly what we're doing now. The key answers that we noticed were things that we noticed athletes were struggling with, okay? So the very first thing we noticed, their life was way out of balance. Athletes were sleeping late or going to bed late or not sleeping enough or skipping days of sleep. So they were completely out of balance. Spring break, cool. 6-7 weeks later, not so cool. Something else that we noticed is that they were thriving. They were needing some activity. They might not have know that they needed that, but we knew they needed that just based on some of their answers. And the third thing that they were really missing was interaction. And that is just such, we are social beings, that we were born that way. There's a reason why we can talk. There's a reason why we high five and hug. It's because we need that to survive. So we decided to develop a game plan from there. And essentially, we had to figure out what is important. We can throw workouts at our athletes. We can throw what we think, but let's really dive in. Let's listen to them. Let's give them what they need. And let's also go maybe based on some research. A lot of us are educators. The coaches that are on our team, a lot of them are educators or have had experience coaching for many years and are playing as athletes. So we leaned on many resources. And the very first thing that we said we needed to help them with was creating a routine, right? Now, I'm a very detailed person when it comes to creating a routine. I write a lot, I color code, I do by the hour, and so is my coaching partner. We also knew that when we're working with 13 and 14-year-olds, maybe that's not the best idea. So it just so happened the very first week of April, Greg Dale, who is the director of sports psychology and leadership for Duke Athletics, go Duke, Missy, he said that there was a question that was asked to him about how important is having a routine. He said it was important, but the more important piece of the routine was having choice. So that was new to, we're like, okay, well, we're adults. There's not many, we have choices, but then we have to be smart about our choices. Kids have a little bit more flexibility with their choice now that, the whole world is not being made for them. So we decided that we would come up with a way to teach them how to do that. And the piece about the choice, we would tell our student athletes, look, if you like to sleep in the middle of the day because you need a break from school and whatever you do in the evening, great, put it in your routine. There's nothing wrong with that. You have the time, so do it, right? So then the next thing that we found that we wanted to help them with is how we're going to help them stay active. My life changed considerably after this new, what I'm calling new temporary way of life. I love going to the gym. I love Zumba. I love to dance. And then I'm also involved in jiu-jitsu. I've been a lifelong martial artist in other martial art forms, and I recently discovered jiu-jitsu. So I'm a very much of a beginner, but I love what it puts my body and my mind through. And those are all contact sports. You get close to people. So I had to figure out how to stay active, and we did that for our athletes. And then the third thing is, this is actually what Greg Dale said is the most important piece. He said, the workouts are important, the routine is important, but what's the most important right now is how are you bonding with your teammates? We don't know when life will be returning to normal, but what would be awesome is when we get back to whatever that new norm is going to be and we get a chance to play with our student athletes, what would be awesome is if we actually know the people that we're getting ready to play with. You know, I have found there are many teams that have lots of talent, and the piece that they sometimes are missing is this piece, which is what keeps them from going to that next level. And I have also met teams with very average talent. In fact, I played on some and coached some, you know, average talent, but because their bond was so tight and they knew each other and they had each other's back so much, they accomplished more than people knew that they could ever accomplish, right? So those are the three areas that we've chosen to focus on. And these are the three areas that we're actually going to be talking about tonight. At any point, if you have any questions about what I am saying, feel free to add it in the chat. I've kind of given Missy some tips on how the presentation is going to be broken down. So we're going to try to allow her to interject should anybody have any questions throughout the webinar. So routine. Routine, easily defined, is what you do regularly. That is just kind of, it's automatic, right? A child's day is pretty much planned for them. So now athletes are being put in a space where they've either got to take control of their space or go ask for help to take control of that routine, or they're going to be in for a rude awakening when life goes back to the norm. And that's really what we want to avoid, because that's a huge mental hurdle that they have to overcome. So with the routine, here's how we suggested for our team to kind of create their own routine. And my coaching partner, Coach Casey, actually did one on our daily live broadcast, which I'll actually talk about a little later. She used some resources and she talked about another strategy. So we both presented these, and then we allowed our players to do this. So we have to figure out, what is it that you must do? The must do are the things that you have to do every day. You got to do them. It's what keeps your life in balance, and what keeps you living in some capacity. The next thing would be, what are the things that you need to do? So those are the things that kind of keep you going in modern civilization, but you don't necessarily do them 7 days a week, all day. And then your third category is thinking about the things that you want to do. So these are the things that really bring joy to your life, that make you happy, that make you excited, that make you just want to keep feeding in to the must do and the need to do. Because I think there's lots of different variations of this quote, but I remember when Denzel Washington said it, you know, do what you need to do now so you can do what you want to do later, right? And there's a lot of different variations of that quote. But the want to do, you got to do some of that every day, because that helps kind of feed you to continue to keep going. So I'm going to walk you through my own process of routines. And I literally took a sheet of paper and I put things in three categories, those three that you just saw. So here are my must do. I'm not going to necessarily go through all of them with you. At the bottom of the must do, though, you notice that I purposely put in there planning for the next day. Planning for the next day, getting ready. For me, that was a big thing, you know, because I was in a previous routine that worked for us. I had to shift when the COVID-19 came out, that I had to plan completely different for the next day. So then my need to do categories, these are my all the roles and the many hats that Missy says that I wear, that I end up mostly doing throughout the day, but I don't do all of these every day. Okay, I have to kind of pick and choose. And then finally, the things that I want to do. What I want you to notice about this list is that this list is in the want to do category. It's not listed. I don't list every single book that I want to do and all the new things that I want to do and all the fun things I want to do. And then family time is not, these are not defined. These are just things. This was easy for us to give our athletes because they can think of how this fits in their own life, right? So now, what do we do with all this? If I just put it on a piece of paper and leave it there, it looks very overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, because now I think about, I got to do this all day, right? So I'm going to give you three strategies: a simple one, a more involved one, and a detailed one in how to take these things, must do, need to, and want to do, and put them in a process that may work for you. Because what we wanted to make sure that we wanted to make sure that we met the athletes where they are and allowed them to be as detailed or not as detailed, whatever fits their life. You know, you have A-type personalities on teams that have to have everything concrete, sequential, and minute by minute, hour by hour. And when they check off all that, they feel so accomplished. And then you got the loosey-gooseys on the team that just say, you know what, just kind of put some stuff together and I'll figure it out as I go. And then you got everybody in between. And we've got, as our job as a coach is to kind of feed into all of that, right? All right, so here's a simple way. This is actually a dry erase board. It actually has a reversible chalk side. And yes, no, I did not go out and buy this for the webinar. I have several of these in my home. They cost $8 at Lowe's or at Home Depot. Because I'm a teacher by trade and because I'm also a coach, I have tons of dry erase markers hiding all over the house, and then some in a secret stash as well. So all I did was I put the week up there. I put Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The week starts for Sunday for me. this took me maybe 30 seconds. And yes, I have done this throughout time. I don't do this now because I follow a different format. We have a command center in our house, where in our old house, I used to do this for everybody. I used to literally put everybody's schedule because our life was just in many different places. So this is easy. Well, now how do we take everything that we just did and put it on a board? Okay. So if I go back to my must do, need to do, want to do, I literally take Sunday. Notice there are 0 times on here, and I literally just put in order of what I want to do. You may laugh at the fact that hygiene is on there, but believe it or not, when you have lots of time on your hands, I wonder how many times you've asked your children, for the adults that are on right now, hey, did you brush your teeth this morning? Hey, did you take a shower tonight? It's got to be planned. It's got to be intentional. Notice that sleep is also on there, okay? So being intentional about those things, and that's really all this is for. I've done this a variety of ways just to show you many things. I put an arrow all the way across of things that apply. That's what I do first when I get out of bed. That's me. And then at the bottom, I put sleep. I also put little hash marks because my day, Monday through Friday, is pretty much the same right now. This would look a little different if COVID-19, if life were a little more normal like it was before this new temporary way of life. There are days where I don't put anything on Sundays because I want Sundays for myself to just do whatever I want to do. And notice that Saturdays are a little less involved. Now that is obviously pre-COVID-19 because I am a club coach. Saturdays and Sundays are usually booked before sun up to after sundown. So notice my Saturdays look a little different than my normal Saturdays do. I am enjoying that time though. So this is one way. I call this a simple way. You can color code for those people that love color coding. Dry erase works because if something in my plan changes, I just erase it and then rewrite it. Or I don't have to. I just make a mental note that I'm just putting things out of order, or I can cross it off if I decide not to do it. So our next way is a little bit more involved. Okay, this would require.
You actually have, Carmyn, you actually have, you have quite a few people that do the dry erase board. So I asked them who's doing it, and a lot of them saying that they do it, and then one uses like a chalk wall.
Perfect.
So.
Yep, that's awesome then. All right, well, so maybe I can offer you some more tools that you can offer to other people that maybe do things a little bit different. So a little bit more of an involved way. It's the same process, except I'm going to use index cards this time. The reason why I like this, because if you don't like to get your hands messy with the dry erase board marker, or maybe you don't have a space for a board, this is very compact. I literally put morning, midday, PM, and it's literally the same thing. This is just Monday. You could do this by day. I would recommend you do a week at a time, snap a picture of it, or keep your cards that are for each day on your nightstand, in your backpack. And then when you have time in your day, spread them out on the floor, kind of put an order together. Although this is more involved on the front end of it because you have to write out a lot of cards or print a lot of cards or print labels. You can color code, you don't have to. You can do white index cards, you can put on color marker. It's totally up to you. But this is a little bit more involved because the pre-work, but I think the work to kind of schedule it out is a little bit easier because you get more of in a routine, and you can even shift throughout the time. You can use this on a cork board. You can put it on your wall. Children that are on the call, make sure you ask your parents to put things in the wall or tape them on the wall, but be as creative as possible. So for me, this is a little bit more involved. And then for me, what I use is actually a detailed planner. Now, student athletes that are on the call and coaches that may not know this, at least in Florida, student athletes all get agendas for the school year. They're really cool and they're colorful and they have quotes and resources and lots of stuff for people to look at. The challenge is it's very school specific. So the month at a glance is like this small. And then all the weeks behind the month really only pertain to the subject matter. There's no time, no place for you to plan your day after school. Student athletes are going from until after school all the way till nighttime. So I would recommend this for a student athlete, at least if you're older, maybe in high school or something like this. This is actually something I've been working with my daughter with. So this is actually a passion planner, and I'll talk about that in a second. But notice I literally have, this is my calendar. This is my week, last week. And the color coding doesn't mean anything. It used to when I was in high school because I thought it was fun to make a category for each color, and that's fine. I don't have time for that right now. I just use color because I want to see color in my life. Now notice I just have the blocks of what I talked about in my must do, need to do, and want to do there. But all my little tasks are at the bottom right here. They're at the bottom. And then I even put a menu of what I was cooking on the right, which I didn't do before. I used to do that just by day for the family in our old house. So I've had to do a lot more cooking, and I really have had to plan for that because my husband is the one that's normally in the kitchen. This time it's been me more in the kitchen, and I'm actually enjoying it though. So this is just an example of how you take something a little bit more detailed. This does take time. I do have to carve out time to make sure that I plan for the following week. And with that said, I'm going to show you some things from the Passion Planner in case it's something you're interested in getting or something like this, as to why I use this. Something I highly recommend for high school student athletes that are at least getting ready to possibly graduate, because your life is getting ready to change. Adulthood, you're going to have a lot more time on your hands, less classes, less people telling you where to be, when to be there, etc. You're going to need something to keep you grounded. There also is an online version of this, not Passion Planner, but something connected, something like Passion Planner that can be embedded with your calendaring system. If you want to know that, when I give you my contact information, you can reach out to me about that. So the Passion Planner has a vision map in the front. Again, something really important for those of you that are getting ready to move beyond high school, whatever your aspirations are. Coaches, this might be for you. You're trying to get to the next level. You're trying to do something different career-wise, or this could really just be for any adult who is getting ready to set out and embark on something new in life. So this is mine. There's a vision map at the beginning. They have the month. Notice it's larger than the one that you get for your school planner. And then what I love about this is every month there's a reflection sheet. So every month you have to go back and look at your calendar and say, did I do the things I was going to do? What am I proud of myself about, which is so important. You know, as athletes, we get in the mindset, what I do wrong, what I need to fix, what I do wrong, what is my mistake? What did I do? What do I have to do better? So it's important to highlight the positives as well. So this is just a simple reflection sheet. Now, the interesting thing about Passion Planner, I'm not a spokesperson for them, but if you go to their website, passionplanner.com, you can get a 30-day set of all of this, the vision, the month, the week, and the reflection. And you just keep reprinting it. This is something I'm working through with my daughter as well. She's a junior in high school right now. So she's got to start thinking no pressure though, because again, there has to be choice when creating a routine. So moving on from passion planning, Missy, were there any questions about routines? Awesome. So that's the technical stuff. Now we're going to get in a little bit of the fun stuff. This is where I hope to add even more to your toolbox. I added some things, maybe technically, maybe coaches, I gave you some ideas to work with some of your student athletes in a variety of ways. So the next thing we wanted to focus on after creating a routine is how are we going to keep these players active? How are we going to do that? We can't, we're not in the gym with them. What do we foresee as some challenges? How are we going to keep the people plugged in that maybe don't want to be on Zoom or some sort of virtual meetup? We've added a lot of variety. So here are some of the things that we've done. Number one, we gave everyone literally at the beginning an accountability partner. And yes, we as the coach were intentional about that. Players, you often may want to choose your partners. The reason why us as coaches, we choose is because there's a reason for it. It's either a good chemistry, or perhaps you need to get to know something about a teammate to create the bond, or maybe you all need to work through something. Like I'm a coach. If I know there's beef between players, I'm partnering them up on purpose, because we will figure it out. We're going to do that. So we didn't do that in this scenario though, because we wanted good blood, and really all of our players get along, from what I can tell anyway. So partner workouts, we assign the workout for the week, and we tell them at least twice out of those days, you have to figure out what days you guys are going to call each other and work out together. It could be on the phone where you don't even look at each other. It could be through Zoom. It could be through FaceTime. It could be whatever medium you want to use. It could be record the video, send each other, comment on it, comment back. We allow autonomy in them doing that for themselves. Team routines and workouts. We work out together. We as the coaches get on with the players and we literally exercise with them. Again, different kinds of workouts. Some of it is ball handling stuff. Some of it is shooting stuff. Some of it is just exercising. Some of it is strength, agility, speed, etc. An alphabet workout is something that's been very popular. I'm pretty certain that most of the personnel that's on the call, should they be athletes or coaches, have seen something like this, and I'll show you an example in just a moment. So the neat thing about the alphabet workout is that we don't take it for face value. Usually they call it the spell your name workout. And what we've done with it before we even show the alphabet workout is we will tell student athletes, hey, we need you to come up with 7 words, and they need to be at least 2 syllables. And you could say they need to be sport specific. They need to be a color. They need to be a day of the month. They need to be your middle name, whatever you want to say. And then we show them the workout and say, okay, great. That's your workout for the next 7 days. You can also get creative by showing them the alphabet workout and say, okay, you and your accountability partner, you need to come out with what each day is going to be. And then again, of course, give them stipulations, because they may be over it by now, and then they may choose the word ball, and then they're not really getting a workout, right? So you choose all of that for them, but then allow them the choice and the flexibility to do the rest. There's a lot of online courses that are available. I'm going to show you a screen for one in just a moment. Coaches, if nothing else, there are tons and tons and tons of resources for you. If you're on this call, you probably already know that, but here's what I want to challenge you to do. Share, 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 share. Think of those coaches, or think of those players or parents or whoever in your phone. When you see a resource pop up, say to yourself, man, who could really use this? Because we as coaches, sometimes we stay in a bubble. If we are a person that loves to learn, we tend to surround ourselves with other people who want to learn, and then we forget about the rest, like, because we have that tunnel vision. So I want to challenge you, go send those resources to people that may want to learn that. For example, the job that I have with Can Do, I'm often sending the directors, when I see something that's gymnastics specific, I send it out. When I see something specific for softball, I send it out. Basketball, I send it out. So just making sure that you're being a resource for others with all these webinars and interviews that you're getting to enjoy as well. And then finally, whole team challenges. So this would be an example of, coaches, if you have a basket at home, how many free throws can you make in a minute? Having a leaderboard for that. If you don't have a hoop at home, we always eliminate excuses. Do you have a line at home? Do you have a ball? Great. How many times in a minute can you make that basketball land on the line? You could do wall touches. You can do passes, self passes, get a partner. There's endless things that you guys can do to challenge each other. Allow the teams to come up with the challenge. That's really how we've gotten a lot of what we're doing, is we ask the players, like, hey, what do you want to do? Great. And we literally have a running list of stuff. Some of the stuff we haven't even gotten to yet, because there's so much on the list. And then we're just, okay, May, great. We're home another month. Okay, excellent. We'll just plug in the rest of these right here. So here are some examples of what I'm talking about. Here's an example of an alphabet workout. You can Google alphabet workout. They're all online. The beauty about the alphabet workout is they tend to be things that are familiar to players, and we always either demonstrate or make sure we find a resource that helps demonstrate it properly. With our high school student athletes, many of them that know these. And what I also love about these is they tend to be all body weight. So I don't have to necessarily be concerned with little kids using like dumbbells or things that they shouldn't be using. So they tend to be more on the safe side. The online course that I was referring to, because I'm a PCA trainer, I'm going to share this. So PCA has an online student athlete course that is absolutely free right now. And what they're actually encouraging is parents to take this course. It's a 60-minute course, because they want parents to be aware of the message that they're sending to the student athletes. Student athletes can also take it. On the screenshot, you'll also see there's other things that they're doing right now. They're doing Zooms, they're doing meetups, they have tons of resources. So positivecoach.us is a great resource for you to use, because a lot of it is free right now. And it was up to a certain point, and now they've just lifted what the date is, and they've just said currently for right now. So go use it, it's free. The other thing I want to point out is Nike Training Club. So there's the Nike Running app, which is awesome. But the Nike Training Club, just like any other app, has premium benefits to it that you can pay for. The beauty about this, in early, I believe this is end of March, beginning of April, Nike Training Club lifted all of their premium subscriptions. So now you download the Nike Training Club app, and you have all of their workouts. You don't have to pay for the premium account. And what's beautiful about that, what I love about the Nike Training Club app, everything they do is awesome. Even if you're not a fan of Nike, you know that they're very intentional about the things that they do. They want people to stay active. Perhaps they want some business afterwards as well, but primarily they want people to stay active. They want people to find their joy. And the thing about the app is that the videos are short. You can get a sweat in 10, 12 minutes. They actually have a professional person in their craft demonstrating and doing the workout with you and talking you through and coaching you through it with a coach's voice. You get points. There's a reward system in there if that matters to you. And then finally, most of the workouts are with body weight only. So again, I'm sending my players to another resource where I don't necessarily have to worry about, oh, are they doing it right? Are they using weights? Are they not? There are some weighted ones. Now there's your whole club challenge right there, your whole team challenge. Hey, how many Nike Training Club workouts can you knock out in a week? How much variety can you give to those Nike Training Club workouts? Now you're building camaraderie. You're also building competition. And now you're going to build maybe some other players. Hey, I tried this workout. What about you? So you're getting a workout in, and you're staying connected at the same time.
So real quick, before you
yes.
move forward, because we do have some questions about that. Let me go back. So Pamela, thank you for your question. How often, if at all, do you change up your partners?
So we assigned the partners at the end of March, beginning of April, depending on the team. We haven't changed them yet. They've had the same partner so far. So that is something that we will need to evaluate because we don't know how long we're going to be in this. But as of right now, we're happy with the partnerships because they're just not like each week a new partnership gets to shine for different reasons, whether it's creativity of the workout, and that actually I'm going to speak about in just a second when we talk about the connected portion as well.
Okay, next question. Sorry, we're having someone that is struggling seeing some examples up on the screen. The blue line when I first. Okay. Hopefully we fixed it, Jarrett. I'm not sure. Okay, this is another question. Thank you, Coach Kelly, for asking this question. How do you make sure that the parents are on board with these activities?
Okay, so we have a very good relationship with our parents. We have very transparent communication, first of all. Whenever we start any season, whether it's a short-term season, a long-term season, something in between, I have parent meetings all the time right at the beginning. I'm very clear about the fact that it's a two-way street. And one, we prefer if their older athletes come to us with their concerns, but parents call us, text us, email us. So we very much have a culture in our program that if a parent has a challenge with something, they know they can call us, and they do. So with this so far, parents haven't had a challenge. The challenge that the parents have had we've had, if we have an athlete or two that maybe hasn't been there for a couple weeks, we first reach out to the athlete, we call the parent, and then their biggest challenge is like, oh, I didn't even know that they had a partner. As of right now, we haven't had any challenges, but the beauty about that is we're pretty relentless in just finding a way, make a way. I have that phrase, I say it all the time, find a way, make a way mentality. So if it doesn't work for their kid, we're like, great. What are some things your kid is interested in? And we'll figure something out. We want them to be successful. And the thing about this is we want players to understand that it's not about you personally. You want to walk back onto a team that you are familiar with. You want to know these players, and this is the way to do it. And it's also helping them be comfortable with being uncomfortable. They may not like to look at themselves on a screen. They may be wondering, oh, who's watching me while I'm watching a screen working out? They may not be happy with what their environment looks like. And we try to create a safe space to make sure that, number one, there's no judgment. Every kind of judgment that I hear verbally or I see non-verbally, I address. And that's prior to COVID-19. This has been pretty smooth. And I think that's because of the culture that we have already established ahead of time.
And so Carmyn, do you allow these parents to join in on your activities?
That is our focus for May is,
okay.
So when I get to the daily live broadcast, I'm going to just mention the fact that our focus for May is to find ways to get families more involved. So we have some ideas on how to make that happen.
Okay. So you said the Nike training app. Is there the Adidas? Do you say, what's the Adidas one that you mentioned?
I didn't mention Adidas. Just okay. the Nike Running Club has an app. I haven't. I have a bad knee, so I'm without running. So I go to the Nike Training Club app. It's a green app with black lettering.
Okay. I'm just typing it in the chat so everybody has it. So I think we're good at this point. You've answered the questions.
Awesome. All right. So we're moving on now to my favorite part. This is actually, if any coach that knows me, any parent that knows me, any player that knows me, knows that this is me. This is me as a coach. This is what is at a premium when I deliver whatever coaching gifts that I may have. Staying connected and being connected in team building and team culture, like that is number one for me as a coach. So I'm going to give you a lot of ways. There's going to be a lot on the screen, but I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm going to just kind of give you examples of a few of them. Should you have any questions about any of them, just like you did with the previous one, feel free to ask in the chat, and I'll be happy to kind of share what those mean. So with staying connected, these are all the ways that we've stayed connected. I'm pretty sure these are familiar. If not, you can feel free to add in the chat. The one that I wanted to address the most is snail mail. When I was a kid, I loved going to the mailbox. And guess what? I'm almost 40 years old, and I still love going to the mailbox. That's part of the kid in me. Even though the mailbox is filled with mostly bills, I love going to the mailbox still, because sometimes, occasionally, there's a little surprise in there, and I just love how it makes me feel. And it made me think about the fact that, you know, the world is so technology focused that the kids don't really get a lot of mail now. There's not a lot of things that come with the kids' names on it in the mailbox. And how sad would it be if they just get to adulthood and the things that they experience about mail is just bills? Like, that would be boring and terrible. So we are actually considering ways of how to create a pen pal system, which I'll show you a little bit later as part of connecting. But what we're working on actively right now is a project to stay connected with our senior citizens that are in assisted living facilities. I've been in touch with one of the senior living facilities, and they've kind of given us some resources and what we can send in that is tactile. So things that people would have to create, either typing or by hand, that the residents of the assisted living facilities would want to join. Now in Florida, that matters. I'm unsure what's happening in other states, but our governor, even though we've opened some things, assisted living facilities are shut down. The only visitors that can come, based on what I read and based on what I heard the governor say, are people that are looking after people that may be terminally ill. So that means, you know, people in assisted living facilities are already people that tend to be invisible to us. And now we're shutting them off even more from the world. So we're going to make an effort. I'm going to start with my team first before I decide how many other branches I take this to see ways that if we can use all the things that they gave us, allow the kids some choice in figuring out what they want to do, put them in a team package and send it to that one assisted living facility. And you know what? Maybe they get something back. Something else we're considering doing, which is on our to-do list for May, is to figure out how we can get a pen pal system going where, different than their accountability partner, we assign players to write different players. And now they're like me. Like, my friends used to write me all the time in the mail. Even though I grew up, you know, when I was in high school, we had texting, but my friends still wrote me letters and they still sent them in the mailbox. So we're interested to see what happens with that. So the ways that we've stayed connected, there's a lot. So it's gonna show a circle, and there's a lot that's gonna pop up, but I'm only gonna go through a few. So the first one that I want to talk about is Scavenger Hunt. This is if you're using Zoom, you tell players, hey, you can make whatever stipulations you want. Go grab the most green thing you can find. You got 10 seconds, ready, go. You can give points. You can have a reward system. You can give high fives, the virtual high fives, whatever you want to do. Or you can just allow somebody to be called on. They all have to show it on the screen. And whoever has the most unique item, they get to share about it. And now they're also getting a peek into each other's homes to see how unique. What we learned about our athletes, Missy, believe it or not, was how many of them had salad in their refrigerator. So that was interesting when we use green, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be whatever you want. So if I go to some of the next ones, the picture challenge was one that was kind of like a scavenger hunt, but I've done different things with that. The picture challenge, they go find a picture that has the most amount of people in it. Go find a picture of a stranger. Go find a picture of your family. Go find a picture that brings up a childhood memory. You can go on and on and on and on. Now they're showing it. They can, you know, if they want to be tech savvy and snap a picture and share their screen, they can. But if they can just hold it up to the camera. So now they're getting a peek into everybody's life. And we learned some really interesting things when we did this with our players. Sorry. So I'm going to just show a few more player-led practices. We have been talking a lot during the month of April. So we decided about 2 weeks ago, towards the end of April, we said, you know what? We've been doing a lot of talking. I think the kids get a gist of this. So how about we let them run practice? Let them decide what they want to do. So this is our stipulation. Every time we meet now, we say, okay, by the end of the night, we need a partnership, those accountability partners, to send us a text message of who would like to host the next meeting. We have been seamless all 3 weeks that we've done it so far, that by the end of the night, somebody messages us. And should we ever run out of those messages, no problem. We'll then start encouraging others to do that. Now, what we tell them is this: we can create the plan for you. We can help you create the plan together, or you can do whatever you want. And you would not believe, the most surprising thing is that every single one has had basketball as a part of the first part of it. They've all wanted to do workouts. So they want to stay active, but now we're giving them that leadership. And they're getting to see what it's like to be in the life of a coach too. For our high school girls, they're actually, the player that took over, her and her partner are actually going to be cooking brownies together tomorrow, but they're going to turn it into a team challenge. So when they cook brownies together, they're going to be in the kitchen with their cameras and all their variations of the food. They have to send them a picture by the end of the night of what the brownies are, and they're going to decide who the best, in their mind, what the best brownies were. So we're giving the players some autonomy and some choice and staying connected, and then they'll also know who maybe has the best brownies to bring before pregame or postgame or season. So here's just a few more. And this is actually my favorite, the timeout challenge. I'm actually going to share my screen. What we told players was, okay, you have to choose, if you have stuffed animals, action figures, or people at home, call a timeout. What coach has ever allowed players to talk for long periods of time during timeouts? None that I know. Maybe if the coach asked a question, they wait for the answer, but the timeout is for the coach. That is the coach's stage. So we told them, I said, okay, go get stuffed animals, action figures, people, calling a timeout. You have complete creative control. You can be funny. You can model a coach that you've seen. You can be outlandish, whatever it is you want to be. Something we learned about ourselves is, wow, we are rather positive coaches, because the players were dressing like us and they were using our language, and we're like, wow, that's really cool. Then some players did actually some creative things, and I'm actually going to stop sharing this right now so that I can share my phone, because I'm going to show you, without judgment on your end of all the little red boxes and red numbers I have on my phone, I'm going to show you right now one of the timeout challenges that is actually on our Facebook page. Maybe I'm going to do that because my phone is not processing that right now. Give me just a second. All right, here we go. Okay, so now you're seeing my phone. I'm going to go to our Instagram page. And on the Instagram page, here is our challenge.
Mr. Ref, let me get a 30. 30. Let's go, everybody sit down right now. And somebody give her inhaler. I don't know what's going through y'all's heads right now, but that was an easy layup. And y'all decided to foul her afterwards? That is not what we do here. This is the play. You guys are not running cross. I need you to go out there and put your foot on their throats right now. Coach, let's go. We got to get them back on the court. All right, get back out there. Let's go. Come on, let's go.
All right, so what's really interesting about that, whether you found it funny or not, for me as a coach, this is a quiet player. This is a high school player. She did give me permission to share this, including on our social media. This person is so quiet when she came to practice. She came to all of our open gyms. Our season had barely even gotten started. She was the first one to submit her timeout challenge, and all of the creativity that went into that, I was like, whoa. So I learned a little bit about that player, and our team laughed so hard. I laughed more particularly at the one where she threw the inhaler, because that was me. That was me as a high school player. That's me as a coach. That's me when I get on the court. Everybody's, coach, where's your inhaler? You got your inhaler? You got your inhaler? So I laughed a lot, and I got to also know a little bit about my player, and I got to know a little bit about my teammates. So I'm going to go back to our screen right here. That's just a simple example of something we've done with those. So there's a lot more on here. I'm going to go to the next slide, and if you have any questions after these next couple slides, then I'll address them. All right, so now I tell athletes all the time, you didn't get here by yourself. You had a lot of help. And we know, even though athletes and coaches are struggling emotionally right now, mentally, they're just hungry to get back on the court and get active again. There's also another group of people that are also missing this, and that's your parents and your fans that come to support you. Even though parents spend a lot of time schlepping kids all over the place during the week, and sometimes competitive sports can be a little bit stressful, they still miss seeing their athletes on the floor. They still miss seeing the people that they support being active in the things that they love to do. So they're also missing. So we have to make sure we find a way to get them involved as well, and staying not just your team, but who are your other stakeholders that may want to have buy-in to what you're doing. So here are some things that we've done. The team sports polls have actually been really fun. Favorite NBA player, favorite WNBA player. What we've recently polled, we polled our coaches on the books that they are interested in reading. Those are actually on our social media page as well. And I actually got to learn something about the coaches that I've been working with for years. Not only their favorite coaching books, but what are their favorite fun reading books? And then what are their favorite childhood books? And it actually brought back a little nostalgia for me, because my favorite childhood book is actually called The Best Little Monkeys in the World. And the only reason for it is because it was something that I read easily in front of my 10th grade class for drama, and I got raving reviews on it. And it was the very first time that I knew that I belonged in front of people. Like, I could talk to people in public. That was 10th grade. So even through this process, I'm learning stuff about myself. I'm revisiting great memories. So you could do a lot with team polls. You could put them on social media. You can do the Google Forms and send it to your team. there's a lot of lists going around on social media right now.
Hey, real quick, Carmyn, let
yeah.
me just stop you. Quick question. Where do you use the polls? Like, how do you do this whole poll system with your team?
So a couple ways. We've done polls through using Google Forms. That would be something. The reason why I like Google Forms is because Google is something that can be Droid or iPhone friendly. It's also web friendly, and it's easy to send out. So if I copy the link, I can shoot it out via text, via email, via chat, and it can be done immediately, and it's easy for me to get answers. On Instagram, there's a polling feature. There's also a polling feature on Facebook that's a separate poll, but something you may not know, coaches, that I've discovered through this process and trying to use Facebook is when you create a video, when you upload a video to Facebook, there's an opportunity for you to actually put poll questions throughout the video. So while somebody's watching your video, they can be answering questions that go back to you for feedback. So those are the main things we've done. We've done the same thing Missy did on here. She did the polling through Zoom. So many different ways that we've used the polling. And then the results for the polling, we'll post them. There's one I'm going to share in just a moment that we did a poll for, but I'm going to let you guys guess the answer first. Cooking challenge is something we're figuring out how to do with our coaches, because I make hands down the best tacos. There's no argument. I will not argue with anybody about that. It doesn't matter the restaurant, it doesn't matter the state, it doesn't matter the person. I make the best tacos. So whoever's ready to challenge me on that, we're trying to figure out the platform that's best to kind of have the kids vote and et cetera. So these are just some ways that we would stay connected as a whole. And that's actually what I'm going to show you next. This is the biggest way that we've stayed connected as a whole. We have used our social media platform. We have a social media marketing director. She's actually my coaching partner. She's awesome at what she does. And we were active on social media before, but now we've really used social media differently. We have done what's called these daily broadcasts. And we remember what I said at the beginning, when all this happened, we wanted to be some form of stability in everybody's life. So every single night at 7:30 p.m. since the beginning of April, we have been doing some formal daily broadcast. At the end of April, we re-reviewed it to say, is it still working? Are people happy? Let's look at our analytics. Let's look at all the numbers. So we decided to keep going with some tweaks. And this, Missy, will answer the question that you asked before about parents. So we are working on a whole month schedule and working with ways to get parents involved in this as well, so that they can stay plugged in. But what's neat, when we go on, we all go on as a team. So there's at least 4 or 5 of us as coaches on together. So the person that's actually talking, and then we're in the background sharing the pages, maybe inviting people that we know might be interested in that topic. So we get a handful of parents that are always on with us, which is really neat. So this is actually our new formatted daily broadcast. We're actually going to go Monday through Friday instead of 7 days now. And here are some of the ideas that we've done with Fun Friday. So the neat thing about Fun Friday is my coaching partner, Julia, and Casey have been doing a little bit with these. They present what the research is on the Fun Friday, and then they offer the challenge. So some of these things they gave like the history of them, and, you know, for people that really want to know that kind of stuff. But then after that, for people that just care about the fun part, they showed a demonstration of the fun part and then challenge people to do it. What I want to show you is the Fresh Friday challenge. This was so neat. When Julia did this, she actually shared about the history of how the dress code had changed in the NBA and why. I thought that was neat. So she was dressed like a coach herself. The challenge that came out of that was, hey coaches, hey players, hey parents, can you dress like your favorite NBA or WNBA or coach pregame? So here is the one. I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to share my screen one day. And I want to ask you guys, and Missy, maybe they can answer in the chat, who is this person trying to dress like? Okay. Let's see. Almost up, guys. All right. Again, no judgment on all my apps and all the pages that I keep going through. I'm a very busy person. All right. Here is our coach. Who is he pre-gaming? All right.
Put it up in the chat if you know who he was just pre-gaming. Oh, got a few. Let me see. One answer, no idea. Russell Westbrook.
That's right. And believe it or not, so,
nice, Emma.
Speaking of the polls, we posted this on our social media. We said, who is this coach dressed like? And that was the number one answer that came back for people that participated in that. What was cool about that, talk about connecting and bonding, because we're doing it as coaches too. This coach tends to be very quiet. He wouldn't mind me saying that. He'd be okay with me saying that. He's very quiet. So the fact that he took the time to create a video, get dressed, put text on there, I said, oh my gosh, I found what my coach's thing is. I'm so excited. So he I hope he knows that now I know where to lean on him a little bit more to just, help him feel a little bit more connected to all of us. But I so appreciate that he was the one out of all of us that actually took on the challenge. So that's just an example of things that we do on Fun Fridays. We do other things on the other days of the week. And if you go to our Facebook page, which I will share at the end, we do it every night, 7:30. There's a link that has all of the videos. So if there's a specific topic that you are interested in, you can let me know. I can shoot you that link directly so you can listen. And great thing is you get to listen to more than just me. There's other people. We've actually invited others on from other programs to do that. And Missy actually, believe it or not, shared with me that one of the reasons I was asked to be here today is because they saw what we were doing on our Ultimate Warriors page and felt like it was very much in alignment with what Beyond the Game Academy was doing. So Missy, I really, really appreciate that. So are there any questions before I start wrapping up the night pertaining to the Staying Connected?
We don't have anything coming through right now, but please ask the questions in the chat if you have any for Carmyn. What was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, you can tell Carmyn is pretty tech savvy. I've actually had to reach out to Carmyn a few times to ask about Instagram and how to use it and repost things. And she's very, very tech savvy. And the other thing about Carmyn is she's a go-getter and she really wants her teams to stay super connected. And that takes a lot of work on her part and her staff's part, but they're so dedicated to their teams. And a lot of times coaches, maybe we don't have this team, or maybe it's just you. Maybe you're the only one running the team. There's a lot of athletes on here that can do the same exact things that Coach Carmyn is doing, but you just step up and take that lead, right?
Yes.
So,
yep.
But I'm going to let you finish up here. And then if you do have any questions for Carmyn, hit up the chat.
So it has been a lot of work, Missy. I will be very honest with you, though. It has been very fun. I like challenges. So for me, and you talked about being tech savvy, I do have a find a way, make a way mentality. If I can be very honest with you, when we did the daily live broadcast, the very first one we wanted to do was about routines. My coaching partner and I must have stayed on Facebook Live for about 3 hours because there's a way you can test it in administration. And we were just like, okay, let's try again tomorrow. But we could have let that be the end and whatever, this is not worth it, because we wanted something very specific. But we stuck with it, and we think it's really poured into everybody, both the audience and the people giving the information as well. So we're going to wrap up. And what I want to challenge you guys to think about, what does it take for you to take some action? For me, the best workshops I've been to, whether they've been coaching related or teaching related, have been ones that have allowed me time to process everything that I just did and kind of create an action step for myself. So what I'm giving you today, actually also there's a PDF document that goes with it, and maybe I can show that in just a moment, that kind of walks you through these steps. The wording may be a little bit different, but the process is the same. So the first thing I want you to think about is, what was your life like before COVID-19? On the PDF, COVID-19 is not on there. I have a feeling soon that may be some sort of trigger word, whether it's people have been physically affected or they're just annoyed by the division that it's creating. So I'm just giving this to you really as a reflection point, but that will not necessarily be on the form itself. For me, my life, I'm going to walk you through my process. My life was organized chaos. There's actually a game called Organized Mass Chaos, by the way, which is really fun. That's not what we're talking about here, though. So it was organized chaos in the sense that I thought I was in balance because I had everything planned out, which I've always loved planning, but the busier I've gotten, the more I've planned. And with the time that I've had, I realized, my goodness, I'm doing way too much. So that was my life before. I do miss basketball. I do miss my kids. I miss coaching. But something's got to give here, especially since my daughter's getting ready to go to college, and so is my nephew, who I call my fourth child. So then the next question I want you to think about, what adjustments did you make? I had to make some major adjustments. For me, activity and mobility is important. I am not a sit-at-home, stay kind of person, and I have been for 7 weeks, and I've actually enjoyed it, but I've still every day found a way to get out. The adjustments I've had to make is the gym is out, jiu-jitsu is out for me, so how am I going to replace that? We also do things on the go. I told you my husband spends a lot of time in the kitchen. Our kids eat at school. We eat on the fly a lot. I've been cooking a lot. So the first 10 days were a major adjustment for me, but I made the choice to make the adjustment. With that said, what has this taught you about yourself? So I'm gonna tell you a little story. My mom bought us a basketball hoop. The first basketball hoop we have owned at home, mainly because we have access to so many gyms, indoor and outdoor. She bought it December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. Christmas is when? December 25th, right? It stayed in the box looking at us in the garage. I was determined that, okay, spring break comes, I'll get to it. Spring break came, COVID-19 came, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel like doing this. I don't want to do it. I finally opened the box though, and then I realized I needed XYZ tools that we didn't have. My mom asked me, did I want to have it assembled for $150 by Dick's Sporting Goods? I said, no, Mom, we got it. We can do it. It sat in the box for 3.5 months. Okay, so we did it. We went to the store. Lo and behold, all the tools that I had to buy for it cost me $150. It's okay though, because I can use them for our house. No problem, right? But guess what? When I opened the box and I got the tools, I still didn't build it. It was part of my daily routine though. I put it on my agenda, build hoop, and I crossed it out often, like literally for 2 weeks. So then I decided different approach. Okay, I got to build this sucker a little bit at a time because they lied. They said it would take 3.5 hours and 3 people. Lied. Took several days and about 5 people, including my daughter and my husband. And finally, Easter came. I think the joy of Easter and all the new stuff we did on Easter really propelled me to, we stayed up till 12 o'clock that night finishing that thing. And then, wait, I'm not done. When we filled it with water, got it upright, the adjustable part didn't work. I was ready to quit. My daughter said, nope, nuh-uh. She said, nuh-uh, we're going to unassemble this and we're going to figure this out. So thank goodness for Camille because she helped. And then it was the little thing that she said that we had to go back and readjust. That's where we had to get my husband involved because we had to kind of sort of unassemble stuff. After that, I obviously felt very accomplished, but I realized that looking back, I had a mental barrier. My mental barrier is I did not want to build that hoop. I thought it was going to be easy. The instructions were even on my phone. There was an app you could download to walk you through it. And I tried and I didn't want to, and I tried and I didn't want to, and I tried and I didn't want to. So wrapping that story up, what I've turned that into is I've now turned this into my daughter. Like that was a really long process for me for something that didn't need to take so long, especially for something we love so much. We live, eat, breathe, sleep basketball. All of us in this house, even my 7-year-old, and I think even the dog. So I ask people now, I ask my daughter specifically, what are the hoops in your life? And I want to ask you that. What are the hoops in your life? And what that has taught me about myself, this whole thing is I have some hoops in my life that I need to address, very personal ones. And some of them work related and some of them, family related. And this has really given me time to do that. And time is something you cannot, it's the only thing that gets stolen that can never be given back. So that's what I've learned about myself, that I have some hoops that I need to address. With that said, think about the things that maybe I have shared on this presentation or things that maybe this presentation has connected you to other thoughts. How are you going to save your season? Now, players, if you're on the call right now or the webinar, you don't need your coach to do anything that I listed for you. If you have a coach that is not engaged with you, that's okay. Take this upon yourself. And some players may say, oh, but coach, I'm scared, or coach, I don't know what so-and-so might think, or coach, guess what? You can't change what people are going to think about you anyway, so you might as well give them the real you. If you want to do something, go get it. And guess what? If you don't, think about what happens if you don't do it, not what if you do it. Think about that. What if you don't do it? Then you'll be thinking about back 5-10 years from now, oh man, I sure should have tried this. I should have done that. And regret is the worst feeling in the world. Worst feeling in the world, at least by my book. So I want you to decide for yourself, coaches, for you too, how are you going to save your season? For me, I have decided that I'm going to persevere some way, shape, or form to get our kids back involved in basketball when we're allowed to appropriately. So we've come up with plan A through Z as if we're allowed to do this, great. This is how we're going to make it happen. If we're allowed to do this, we're going to make this happen. We have that find a way, make a way mentality. Our families are hungry for basketball. And literally the second thing we're going to do is whatever they throw at us, we're going to figure out a way to just make it great. Right now, it's all about us kind of just staying connected and being together. And then finally, I want you to decide for yourself what is going to be different. I have told myself almost with anxiety, if I go back to the same norm, after all this time that has been the most unique time in my life that probably won't ever be like this again, if I go back to the exact same thing, then all this time was for nothing. It was for nothing. So I want to challenge you to think about, even if you're an athlete and even if you're young, even if it's just one little thing, you want to make your bed when you get up. You know, that's happened in our house. It's something that now I can enforce because I'm home. It was an expectation before, but I never inspected it because we didn't have time, but now I do. So even if it's one small thing, I want to make sure I do this. I want to make sure I cook a meal a week, whatever it is you want to commit to. And don't be afraid of saying it for failure or feeling that you might fail at it. So what? If you fail at it, try again, right? So with that said, here's my personal contact information. Email, phone number, all of my social media handles. Feel free to reach out to me. If you want to just connect, you want to just talk personally, you want to talk about anything that was on this presentation, or if you have perhaps a different question that you want to inquire about, that's there. And then our club's information is actually right here. Same thing, email, all the social media handles. I would recommend you at some point check out the daily live broadcast. I think there may be some things you connect. If you're a Harry Potter fan, somebody did something with that on Friday for our Fun Friday, my coaching partner. I'm pretty sure Star Wars is in the mix somewhere as well. You know, we had the May the 4th be with you and the May the 6th something, but that could be also the 6th too. But there's a lot of fun things that are happening out there, a lot of different coaches with lots of different resources. So you guys have been a great audience, and Missy, thank you again. And I'll be quiet now.
Awesome. That was, Carmyn, that was amazing. And again, the work that you're doing is amazing, and you're exactly right. You know, it's why I asked you to come on to this, because of the amazing things that I'm watching you and your team do on social media. And it just really speaks volumes of you and your character and your whole team. So thank you for all the resources that you're putting out there to all of us. And the people that are on this webinar, you're going to get an email from Carmyn shortly after this. It's going to have all of her contact information. It's going to have the PDF resources for you to fill out. So you have to work on. So one quick question though, I have a couple questions for you, Carmyn. But one of the questions is, must be Elizabeth as a coach, we are not allowed to do anything organized with our high school teams outside of the season, but would be very interested in doing a lot of this stuff in season. Culture is huge.
Awesome.
How much of this did you implement with your kids during the actual season? So maybe share what the academy is compared to, you know, Slam, Tampa, and
So believe it or not, so the virtual things are new. I've grown through this process. It has really helped me understand, well, yeah, I am kind of tech savvy. And I was telling Missy why this has been a great platform for me, because I'm an ideaist. That's not even a real word. I made it up, but I'm an idea person, and I just put ideas into practice. That's all I do. It's literally, I eat, breathe, sleep ideas. They come to me in dreams, and it's kind of weird, but that's just who I am. That's who I've always been. So with this new virtual thing, it's just kind of been things that have just come to me, and we've done them together and they've stuck. So I haven't done many of the virtual things. We are allowed contact with our high school players, not in the way of anything official. So what I've done with them is we get on a call and I ask, okay, who's leading, who wants to lead? And tonight I actually have a call after this to kind of help. She wants some ideas and for leadership. So she's going to ask me questions. I'm going to give her resources, and she's going to kind of lead her team. So that's all we've been able to do that way. As far as these kinds of things that are not necessarily virtually related, I do these things with my high school teams all the time. The opening, the team builders, if you could be your favorite candy bar, what would you be? If you could if you could put things in a vending machine that were all your own unique vending machine, what would they be? Superpowers, favorite WNBA player, favorite NBA player, favorite book to read. If you were a Harry Potter house, what would you be? Then we get deep. You know, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's the best quality of a teammate? What's the worst quality in a teammate? You know, so that they're vocalizing, so that teammates that maybe have that challenge, that person's hearing it like, oh, better not say that around so-and-so. So we do that all the time. We take time throughout practice, and particularly if we see practice as being flat, great. You know, we've got a game up our sleeve that's 2 seconds. We're playing foot wars with pool noodles, and they can't touch it with their hands. They have to put it in between their legs. So I'm very much an idea person, and what's been awesome about my platform is that people know that about me. My coaches know that about me, and they feel comfortable either using what I'm sharing, or they feel comfortable giving more to me so we can kind of add to our toolbox. Team chats we do team dinners. That was something that, this is my first year at this school. And I tell you a quick story. I got the job 1 week before the season started because the coach prior to me left. And I had 3 players come in the open gym. And my goal was to finish the season with the same amount of players that I started with. We had 14 girls playing basketball by the end of the season. So it was not a season where we dominated everybody on the court, but I definitely helped change the culture of basketball with teaming at that school. And a lot of it was team building, how we talk to one another. We did do challenges, workout challenges over November. My assistant coach gave a workout challenges. They're sending videos to each other. When we had challenges, we talked about it. I am known as the coach that the pink elephant in the room does not exist on my team because I talk to that pink elephant. I interview that pink elephant. I want to know that pink elephant's name. I want to know how long they're staying, when they're leaving, what's their solution for exiting. So, and I'm very transparent with my players about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Karamia asked, what is the best way to stay in touch with your team? So what would you suggest if there was one thing?
For me, texting. Or some form of texting, whether we have Team Snap, we can text through there. The texting on the texting app was getting too much, so we actually created a group me text. Why I like that is because you can share videos and things like that in a more compressed format without it eating up all the storage on your phone. And then you can create a lot of mini groups without having to worry about what kind of phone they have and limitations of groups and whether or not they can read it or not and see the file. So that has been more successful for us now, and we're going to continue using GroupMe going forward. And it's something that you can kind of tag people in, like if you're not talking to the whole group, you can still tag that one individual person in the group. So it's a little bit more organized than texting feature. And for me, it's easy. It's like a paper trail. So I can see if people are not responding. I can, slide in a private message and say, hey, so-and-so, everything okay? Or alert, call their parent or email them. I stay in touch with my parents all the time. Communication is at a premium.
Yeah. How effective do you think you guys are being? Coach Hamilton reached out and asked, the timetable of the time of everything working. And then do you really think you're hitting home with your athletes and connecting with them?
I 100% do. I actually told my coach, the high school coach, that I said, what's beautiful about all this is that look at how many of them, they probably all want to throw their laptop or phone or computer out and don't want to see another Zoom. I'm assuming, I don't know, because they're on Zoom all day for school in some capacity. And we have honored that screen time because when we first started, we were doing longer sessions, and then we've kind of cut it down to about an hour. But really, it's just to let them know, like, hey, we're not on the court right now, but we're your coaches and we still care. And the thing I said to him was, it is so beautiful that we have all these players still engaged after 7 weeks. Like they all still want to be there. It didn't matter that, yes, they want to be on the court, but what they want to be more is they want to be active with their team. Something we've done with our high school players in our club season is, we're prepping them, our older ones, they're reaching out to college coaches. The response doesn't matter right now, but how are you selling yourself on paper? How are you selling yourself on social media? If you have social media, where are you deciding that you're going to college? Even if you don't go there. So we're teaching players the value of selling yourself and not allowing others to do the work for you. Because I know there's programs that offer that, but here's the challenge. At some point in that player's life, basketball is going to end. And I want to pass on the skill to them that when basketball is over and people are done selling you and, hyping up whatever your talents are, you've got to go sell yourself. So we're helping them. Yes. Are some of them going to get attention on their own? Absolutely. But we want them to know that they have a control piece in that manner. And then really, even if some of them don't play at the next level, I want them to get that information. I want them to feel comfortable putting themselves out there. That's a big life lesson.
Yeah. And it is, it's not this time, I've talked to a lot of teams. It's not about the X's and O's, right. No matter what sport it is.
True.
This is about, preparing our athletes for life. The challenge that we're faced right now, dealing with their anxieties, their fears, making sure that they know they're not alone going through this, that they're still connected from afar, but that you're so great at making sure that your athletes know that you have their backs.
Yep.
With anything that they can call you middle of the night. I know you're going to pick up and you probably have your phone going off at all hours.
I got that message yesterday.
Yeah. but that is what's important. If coaches, you can take away one thing. You don't need to be all tech savvy. You don't need to, do everything that Coach Carmyn said. But if you could do one thing, and maybe it's just connect with your team once a week, to connect on a Zoom call or all FaceTime and just share with one another their experiences, that matters. And that's going to matter after the fact when you take them out onto the court or to the field. They're going to know that during this time you truly cared about them. So I think that's really the most important thing from all of this.
And I want to add to that, if you don't mind, Missy.
Yeah.
So the thing that coaches have to do is eliminate the barriers. So often, even with this process, we have had a few excuses. Oh, I don't like Zoom, or oh, I'm at my dad's house and I don't have Wi-Fi, or oh, I only have it on my phone and I have a Droid. And just helping them instead of saying, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, because life's not going to do that.
Right.
Life's never going to do that. So we say, the question I always ask them, instead of focusing on what you can't do, how can we figure this out? What's the how? What's the how that you can answer? Does a neighbor have a phone? Does a friend have a phone? Can you call in? Because there's on Zoom, there's dial-in numbers too. Can you ask your family to make sure that you're in this spot at this time? And it's not about judgment from us, but it's about helping them figure out there's another way. You just got to find it.
Mm-hmm. It's so critical. So one last question before we wrap it up, because I know we've been going quite long, and thank you, everyone's hanging tight. So
thank you so much.
Yeah. So you're saying a lot of good things. You have them still here. So last question, this is by Emma. What is the toughest things coaches have to face or deal with when they have a player that has so much potential, and who works hard? I don't know if she meant works hard or doesn't work hard.
Okay, I can address both of those.
Okay.
So I'll address the first one about doesn't work hard, talented and doesn't work hard. The hard part about that is that player has to remember that others are watching, and their leadership gift to the team is their skill set. If somebody is talented, you have done something to get there. In basketball especially, nobody's naturally talented to put the basketball through the hole in a high percentage time. You had to practice to get that. You may be a little more athletic than the people that you can't control. Dribbling, same thing. Nobody wakes up knowing how to dribble. It's not the same with the sensory sounds. It's different. So the hardest thing is just kind of getting that player to realize that, you are a model. Some players are not ready for that. They don't want that extra attention, and they just have to realize it in their own. Coaches have to stand firm that, if I think about players that may have fit that category that I've coached, it's being firm, particularly during games, and not allowing that player to get away with less than their best. It's hard as a coach because that player can take you through to victory, but at the same time, you're sending a message to the rest of the team of what's okay. When they get that talented or that skilled, that it's okay to be like that. What is some good motivation for players like that is I tell them, I said, okay, your talent's going to take you to a certain point, especially when I'm talking to student athletes. If everybody's gotten to high school, everybody else is getting better too. And there's a whole lot of people that didn't make the team. So I want them to remember that, I tell players all the time, end of high school season, you better get busy because somebody's coming for your spot next year. And I say that on purpose. I try not to say things that may, alarm kids or maybe hurt their feelings, but that's just really to send them as a motivator to keep working. And I tell those players that are like that, like, hey, eventually if you keep resting and not working and not trying your hardest, that somebody's gonna have your spot and you won't get to play the game that you love. Sometimes I've had real conversations with them. Do you still love this game? I've had many people that have played long beyond me. And when they talk to my players, they say, when basketball stops being fun, stop playing. Stop playing. Even if it is for a small period of time. Now, to the flip side of her question about having a very talented player and who does work hard, I've had that scenario too, and I've had that in a mixture of teams where I've had both scenarios. I noticed that players that are like that just have very tunnel vision, and I noticed that the ones that work really hard, in most cases, they're also ones that are very coachable too, because they have an end game in mind, and they know that they are completely open to the fact that whatever situation they're in, whether there's 20 other people or 15, 14 other players on their roster that are just like them, or they're the only one that is just like them. I'll never forget, and there's a player from a school that we played who she was clearly the standout. Like you could see it on paper, you could see it on film, you could see it in person. It was what it was. And I always admired watching her because she stood out. She did everything, but she didn't do it for herself. She did it based on whatever the coach told her to do. And the other players were skill-wise far behind what she was. And I often wonder, like, man, why did she go to this school? That's a question we all ask, and the whole transfer portal applies in high school too, even if it's not official. And that player actually received a Division I scholarship to a school in Florida. And it made me realize, like, that's interesting that she stayed there all 4 of her years. Clearly she played her role and she still got the same result. So, and in some cases, if there's players that are talented and they feel like they are better than whatever else is on the team, that's okay. Then maybe that environment is not for them. And our job as a coach is not to be judgmental about, decisions coaches and players and parents are making for themselves. It's to put players in the best environment where they can succeed. I hope that answered Emma's question.
Yeah. And there's a million examples, Carmyn, right, of athletes that maybe, as they got better, or their talent level. So I think of like a Steph Curry. Steph Curry wasn't recruited to go to any big Division I schools. None, zero, no Duke, no Kentucky's, none. Right. And he happened to actually get asked to go to Davidson because the head coach saw him play baseball and he looked like a decent athlete.
I didn't know the baseball part.
Yeah. So he was a baseball player. And so the coach is like, he's a decent athlete. I might be able to do something with that. Has him come to Davidson. And we all know what Steph Curry did.
Yep.
Right? So
the rest is history,
so
right?
Many athletes rely just on where they're at, their talent right now, because maybe in their hometowns, they are the better player on their teams. But once they start shifting around, they get surpassed. And, I'm so grateful because my father at a very young age continued to really kind of show me and give me experiences that there's much better players outside of my little village.
Right.
Where I grew up in. And, I was this best, scoring 35, 40 points a game. And then I go to Duke and my butt's on the bench. I miss New York State and I'm the best player to come out of New York State and my butt is on the bench, and thankfully, like, my dad somewhat prepared me for that moment. But I think of how many athletes are not prepared because they just try to ride that talent bike, all the way through. And then quick, they get, thrown for a loop because they get surpassed by those that have worked super hard. Michael Jordan, everybody's probably watching The Last Dance, right? He gets cut from his freshman basketball team and look what he's done. Right.
Yeah.
So it's about, it's about that effort, and effort speaks volumes. And it really, when it comes to college coaching, because I've been that for 12 years, I just did a whole webinar on attitude and character.
Yep.
What do college coaches look for? It's your attitude and character. And if you have a great attitude and character and it looks like you have some ability and you're a hard worker, I will snag you over talent any day of the week. I can build a program with that.
Yep.
Right.
So I want to build on that, and I know we're wrapping up. Emma, this is for you specifically. I thought about tying this to what Coach Missy just said. There's some phrases that I say to my coaches, which is actually what you're going to get or to my players, what you're going to get in email, like my top 10 phrases that I'm used to saying a lot of. There's more, but those are the ones I'm used to saying a lot. So we have this thing, and I am putting this on video, but this is very public knowledge. When players say things that are not kind to themselves, like I suck, I'm this, I make mistakes all the time, things that are not productive, then get better. We do like forehead slaps. And the reason for that, if you touch your forehead, this is your decision-making process. So you made the choice to make that statement. So we do light little forehead slaps. What we really do in that moment, though, that's just a tactile reminder, like, I got to fix that, right? We stop practice. The player has to rephrase their saying. So they're saying, I can't make a left-handed layup. I literally blow the whistle. We stop practice. And it's gotten so interesting to the point now where players will stop practice. Coach, listen to what she said. We got to stop practice. So we make them make them re-say it 5 times. I'm learning to get better. 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 So when I can tell emotions are all over players' faces, this is also what I say to them. What are you telling yourself right now? I don't need them to answer that question. It's really for them. They can have the conversation in their head. Is it helpful? If the answer is yes, great. Keep saying it. Most times it's no, though. Is it hurtful? Yes. So then this is the only thing I say to them. And this is actually, all these questions I'm asking are things that I've gotten from different places, and I kind of just combine them. I heard this at the Snow Valley camp in Iowa with Don Showalter. And it wasn't him that said it. I don't even remember which coach, but his phrase was change your mind. So it goes like this. What are you telling yourself? Is it helpful or is it hurtful? If it's helpful, keep it. If it's hurtful, change your mind. So it's very simple. Like my players, I have a lot of one-liners that awesome. Players are used to me saying. So
we're going to end on that because that was awesome.